Game warden didn't just ask to see my license, he actually confiscated my bait bucket because he was convinced I was using a banned chemical attractant. You don't get 61 fish in a single afternoon on a public lake without raising some eyebrows. But when he stuck his finger in the dough and tasted it, his face went from angry to confused to absolutely speechless. He looked at me and said, "Is this dill?" Yes, it was dill. Specifically, it was the leftover brine from a jar of pickles that I almost poured down the drain. You are about to learn why that green juice is the most powerful electrolyte booster for freshwater fish in existence, and how adding just 1 spoon of it to your dough bait triggers a biological feeding response that makes standard worms look like plastic toys. Stop throwing away your pickle jars. I know it sounds insane. I know you are thinking that fish don't like vinegar. That is the amateur mistake. Fish don't taste vinegar the way we do. They taste the salt, the garlic, and the dissolved amino acids that have been fermenting in that jar for months. It is a concentrated salt lick in liquid form, and when you mix it with a carbohydrate base, it creates a scent trail that cuts through muddy water like a laser. I am going to show you how to mix it so it doesn't dissolve instantly, and I am going to show you the footage of the rod bending over every 30 seconds. But first, we need to address the game warden moment because it proves exactly how potent this stuff is. I was fishing in a cove that is notorious for being dead in the summer. The water is hot, the oxygen is low, and the fish usually go dormant. I had 2 rods out. One had a standard nightcrawler, and the other had a ball of pickled dough. The nightcrawler sat there for 45 minutes without a twitch. The pickled dough rod was in the water for maybe 2 minutes before the line went slack. That is a classic carp bite. They pick it up and swim toward you. I reeled down, set the hook, and the fight was on. It was a 10-pound carp. I released it, rebaited, and cast again. Boom! Another one. Then a catfish. Then a massive bluegill. I was hauling in fish so fast that I didn't notice the patrol boat drifting silently into the cove. The warden had been watching me with binoculars. In his experience, when someone is catching fish that fast in dead water, they are usually snagging them or using illegal chum like corn soaked in antifreeze. He pulled up, tied off to my cleat, and looked at the green sludge on my hands. He was stern. He thought he had caught a poacher. When I told him it was just bread and pickle juice, he didn't believe me. He made me mix a fresh batch right in front of him. I took a slice of stale bread, ripped the crusts off, balled it up, and dipped it into the jar of brine I had in my cooler. I kneaded it until it was a gummy green paste, put it on a hook, and dropped it under the boat. We watched the line together. 10 seconds. That is all it took. The rod tip slammed into the water. He watched me pull up a 3-pound channel cat right next to his motor. That was the moment he went speechless. He realized that a kitchen scrap had just outperformed every commercial bait he had seen that month. Here is the science behind why this works, and it is crucial you understand this so you don't mess up the recipe. Freshwater fish, especially bottom feeders, are constantly losing electrolytes to the water around them through osmosis. They crave salt. They need it to survive. Most commercial baits are sweet, strawberry, vanilla, corn. But in the summer, when the fish are lethargic, they don't want sugar. They want salt. Pickle juice is loaded with sodium, but it also contains garlic and dill. Garlic is a known appetite stimulant for fish. It mimics the scent of certain aquatic prey. Dill provides a unique herbal signature that stands out against the smell of rotting mud. When you combine high sodium, garlic, and dill, you are essentially creating a Gatorade for fish. It recharges them. Now, let's get to the recipe, because you can't just dip bread in juice and expect it to stay on the hook. You need a binder. The best binder for pickle juice is not flour, it is instant mashed potato flakes. I know, another kitchen item. Flour gets too sticky with vinegar. Potato flakes absorb the brine and turn into a dense, rubbery dough that stays on the hook, even in a current. Here is the ratio. 1 cup of potato flakes to half a cup of pickle juice. You do not add water. You want 100% brine concentration. Pour the flakes into a bag. Add the juice. Squeeze the bag. It will feel dry at first. Keep squeezing. The starch in the potatoes will start to hydrate and bind. If it is too crumbly, add 1 more teaspoon of juice. You want it to feel like modeling clay. The beauty of the potato flakes is that as they sit in the water, they start to fluff up slightly, releasing a cloud of white particles that are saturated in that green garlic scent. It gives the fish a visual target to go along with the smell. I took this potato pickle mix to 3 different lakes to test it against different species. Lake 1 was a murky river system. Visibility was 0. This is where the scent matters most. I cast it into a deep hole behind a log jam. The current was strong, but the potato dough held on. Within 5 minutes, I had a channel cat, then another catfish hunt by scent, and the garlic in the brine was calling them in from downstream. I caught 15 catfish in an hour. Lake 2 was a clear water reservoir full of picky carp. Carp are smart. They will stare at a bait for 10 minutes before eating it. If it looks unnatural, they ignore it. I threw a ball of the dough near a dock piling. I could see the carp circling. They ignored the corn I threw as chum. They ignored the worm. But when one of them swam through the scent trail of the pickle dough, he snapped. He turned 90 degrees, swam straight down, and inhaled it. The vinegar cuts the surface tension of the water, allowing the scent to travel faster than oil-based scents. That carp didn't stand a chance. Lake 3 was the real test, a pressured public pond where the fish have seen everything. These fish are hook-shy. They know what a power bait ball looks like. They know what a spinnerbait sounds like. But they had never seen or smelled pickle dough. It was a pattern interrupt. It was something new in their environment that smelled like food but didn't trigger their danger response. I caught bluegill. I caught bullheads. I even caught a largemouth bass that picked it up off the bottom. Bass usually want moving bait, but the salt content was so high that he couldn't resist eating it as a snack. The key to this method is the marinating time. You can use the dough immediately, but if you let it sit in the fridge overnight, the potato flakes break down further and the dough becomes almost elastic. This is perfect for long casting. You can whip this stuff 50 yards and it won't fly off. And because it is made of potatoes and vegetable brine, it is completely digestible. If a fish swallows it deep and breaks the line, the hook will rust out, and the fish will digest the bait and be fine. You aren't polluting the water with soft plastics. I want to talk about the specific type of pickles because it actually matters. I tested sweet gherkins, bread and butter, and kosher dill. The sweet pickles did not work nearly as well. The sugar content was too high and it attracted too many tiny bluegill that just pecked the bait to death. You want kosher dill or garlic dill. You want the savory, salty, acidic profile. The more garlic in the jar, the better. In fact, if you have a jar that is almost empty, throw a few extra cloves of minced garlic in there and shake it up before you use the juice. Supercharge it. Let's discuss the speechless aspect again. When you use this bait, people will look at you like you are crazy. You are standing there holding a bag of green mash that smells like a deli sandwich. But when you start pulling in fish while they are sitting there motionless, that judgment turns into curiosity really fast. The game warden ended up asking me for the recipe. He said he wanted to try it with his grandson. That is the power of this trick. It breaks the rules of serious fishing. We are told we need expensive gear, but nature prefers simple chemistry. There is a variation of this trick for when the water is extremely cold. In cold water, scents don't travel well because the water molecules are dense. To fix this, you heat up the pickle juice in the microwave before mixing it with the potatoes. Hot liquid penetrates the starch deeper. When that warm bait hits the cold water, the temperature difference creates a convection current that pushes the scent out explosively. I used the hot pickle method in November and outfished guys using live minnows. They were freezing their hands off, reaching into bait buckets. I was keeping my hands warm, holding a bag of warm potato dough. Another massive advantage is the cost. A bag of instant potatoes is $2. The pickle juice is free. It is trash. You can make 5 pounds of bait for $2. Compare that to $6 for a tiny jar of trout bait, or $10 for a dozen night crawlers. You can fish every day of the week for a month on the price of one coffee. And since it doesn't spoil as fast as worms, you can keep a bag in your tackle box for emergencies. The visual aspect of the green dough is also a factor. Most lake bottoms are brown or gray. A bright green ball of dough stands out. Fish are curious creatures. They see that contrast and they come to investigate. Once they get close, the garlic hits them, and the salt seals the deal. It is a 1-2 punch of sight and smell. I have to warn you about the smell on your hands, though. Pickle brine is potent. If you don't wash your hands, you are going to smell like a burger joint for 3 days. But that is a small price to pay for a live well full of fish. And honestly, the smell is what gives you confidence. When you open that bait bag and the fumes hit you, you know it is going to work. One of the most surprising catches I had with this was a turtle. Now, I don't try to catch turtles, but they are ancient scavengers. They have incredible noses. If a turtle is going out of its way to eat your bait, you know it smells like high-quality protein. I unhooked him and let him go, but it proved the point. Everything in the lake wants this sodium bomb. If you are targeting catfish specifically, you can modify the recipe by adding a tablespoon of bacon grease to the mix. The grease doesn't mix with the vinegar well, so it creates little pockets of fat within the potato dough. When the water hits it, the grease floats up while the heavy dough sits on the bottom. This creates a vertical scent column. The pickle juice covers the bottom, the bacon grease covers the top. You are covering the entire water column. I caught a 20-pound blue cat using the bacon pickle hybrid. It was like fighting a submarine. Do not underestimate the kitchen scrap philosophy. Fish in public waters are pressured. They have learned to avoid the chemical smell of store-bought baits. They associate those smells with danger, but they don't associate the smell of cucumbers and dill with danger. It is a safe smell. It doesn't trigger their flight response. That is why the big old fish, the ones that have survived for years, are the ones that fall for this. They think they are eating something natural. So here is your homework. Go to your fridge. Find that jar of pickles that has one limp spear left in it. Eat the spear. Save the juice. Buy a box of instant potatoes. Mix it up until it feels like earlobe cartilage. Soft but firm. Go to the lake. Find a spot where the wind is blowing into the shore because that is where the food collects. Cast it out. Leave your bail open so the fish can run with it. Watch your line. When it starts moving, don't set the hook immediately. Let them swallow the scrap. Count to 3. Then cross their eyes. You are going to catch fish. You are going to save money. And you might just have a game warden pull up and accuse you of cheating. When he does, just smile. Hand him the jar and tell him, "It's just pickles, officer." It is the best feeling in the world. The best part is you can do this today. You don't need to order anything online. You don't need to wait for shipping. The secret is already in your kitchen. Now, I want to see your results. I want you to try this and comment below with what you caught. Did you get carp? Catfish? Did a bass eat it? This community is about sharing real tricks, not marketing hype. And if you think this is crazy, just wait until the next video where I show you what happens when you mix Kool-Aid with raw shrimp. But for now, master the pickle dough. It is the ultimate slump buster. If you can't catch fish with this, the lake is empty. One final tip before you go, use a smaller hook than you think you need. This dough is soft. A large hook will break it apart. A small size 6 or 8 treble hook holds the potato flakes perfectly. The spring usually found on dough bait hooks is helpful but not necessary if you get the moisture ratio right. Remember, squeeze it tight. The tighter you pack it, the slower it dissolves, and the longer the scent trail lasts. Fishing isn't about luck. It is about presenting a solution to a problem. The problem is the fish are hungry but cautious. The solution is a high-calorie, high-sodium meal that smells innocuous. Pickle juice is that solution. It is the kitchen scrap that outfishes the pro shop. Go give it a try. You will never look at a pickle jar the same way again.